Hi everyone, I'm Mahesh. In this video, we are going to discuss about common mistakes made by a Java beginner. The first one, accessing non-static members from static methods. So I have an example here, a class where I have a variable A and a method M1, both are non-static. And I have main method which is static and I'm trying to access the non-static stuff here. Like I am assigning some value 100 to A and I'm calling method M1 here within the static context. So we can clearly see a compiler error here. So let's read that. So if I hover over that error, so we can clearly see the compiler error reading non-static field A cannot be referenced from a static context, meaning we can't actually access the non-static stuff from the static context. So how to resolve this mistake? So this is the common mistake a beginner does. So how to resolve that? We need to create an object of that class where we have the non-static stuff. So let me create an object for that class, and then using the object of that class we can access the non-static stuff. See, instead of accessing directly the instance variable A, I am using the object of that class and then trying to access the variable m.a, and in the same way m.m1. So using object we can access the instance variable as well as method which are non-static, and I am going to display this value as well, a value from the main method. So let me run this now, and you can clearly see we don't have the compilation issues now. Those are resolved now. Let me execute this now. And we can clearly see the output here. So it displays the value of A, and it also calls the M1 method. When M1 method is called, so you can see there is something here like in M1, and the value of A is displayed. And you can clearly see here A is directly accessed, meaning without the object, A is accessed within M1 method as it is non-static. So the bottom line here is whenever we wanted to access non-static stuff within the static context, we definitely need to create an object for that class. Only then we can access the non-static stuff within the static context. And the next one is missing closing curly brace. In Java, when you write a class, a method, a loop, a block, anything, we should be enclosing that in a pair of curly braces. That is a opening brace and a closing brace, right? And a Java beginner often makes this mistake of missing the closing curly brace. For example, you can see here that I'm creating a new thread instance which takes a parameter as runnable interface and which needs to implement the run method. And within run method, I have a try catch block as well. So it has like this instance has like many pairs of braces, right? Curly braces, and it is very difficult to find out where the error is. You can see the compile error here, right? So here the issue is we missed the closing curly brace for this run method. So if you write a program in a notepad or a text file, right, it becomes very difficult to identify these type of mistakes. So how to avoid this mistake is, for example, if you wanted to write some if block, right? So always have your closing curly brace inserted when you are opening it. Like for example, I open the curly brace, right? Have the closing curly brace here itself, and then write your block of code here. This is how we can avoid the mistake. And thanks to IDs, so you don't need to do this. Like automatically, if you try to create any block of code, so when you open the curly brace, right, it automatically gives you the corresponding matching closing curly brace as well. See, this is how it does. Unless and until you have this setting disabled in your preferences. So the point to be noted here is whenever you are writing a block of code, have your closing curly brace when you are opening it. Next one is missing break in switch case construct. Here you can see a piece of code where we are reading an integer value and comparing it with the case statements within the switch block. So if it is 1, then we are going to display it as 1. If it is equal to 2, then we are going to display as 2, and so on. So let us execute this piece of code and verify. I am going to provide the input value as 2, and we get the output as you selected 2, right? Fine. Let me execute the same program again, and provide input as 5. This time it says you selected 5 and also it says you selected out of range. So let us see what happened here. You can see here, so when we provided input as 5, it displayed we selected 5 and it also displayed this default value. This is because switch is a fall through. Switch has a behavior called fall through, meaning whenever the value is equal to one of the case values, it executes all the statements below it. So in order to avoid it, we can use the break keyword. So in this case, what happens is this whenever the value matches with this case, this statement gets executed, and by looking at this break keyword, it just comes out of the switch block. So let us execute it again and verify now. I provide the input as 5. So this time we'll get you selected 5. This time it didn't execute this. So it is not always mandatory to use break keyword when you are using the switch block. So there are some cases. For example, you can see the method here. This method takes input as month and year and returns the number of days of that particular month. For example, case 1 representing January here, 3 represents March, 5 representing May, and so on. So if it falls into this group, it returns number as 31, and for this set of values it returns the number of days as 30, and if it is the month February, according to the leap year logic, it either returns 29 or 28. So you can see here we are actually using the fall through behavior. If the value is either equal to 1 or 3 or 5 and so on, we are going to return some value. So we are not using break keyword here, we are actually making use of the fall through behavior of switch case statement. So the point to be remembered here is you don't need to use the break statement always, and if at all you wanted to use it, so do not forget to use it according to your requirement. And the next one is confusing assignment operator with comparison operator. Again, this is a very common mistake a Java beginner does. So you can see we are reading an value here, integer value n, and we are writing an if condition here. You might be thinking that you are comparing n value with 10 here, but that is not true. So whenever we are using one equal symbol, it is assignment, meaning the value 10 is assigned to this variable n. So you can also see the error here, compilation error. So if you read that, it clearly says that required type is boolean, because if condition always takes a condition which is a boolean, either true or false, and you provided the integer variable. Integer value is what it is saying. So in order to correct this error, we should be using double equals to, which actually means the comparison operator. In this case, it will actually compare n with 10. So if we use only equals, one equals, then the value 10 is assigned to n, or if you use two double equals, then the value n is compared with 10. See, in this case, so when you provide 10, then it actually displays this output. So let me execute this and show you. If I provide the input as 10, it displays the output as selected 10. Fine, right? So now let me show you something else. So if my variable is boolean, even if we actually have this equal symbol and assign this flag value as true, see, for example, the default value of flag is false, and in the if condition I am actually assigning true to this flag value, but I might be thinking that I am comparing this flag variable with true. And even if you see here, even if I use this assignment operator, I am not getting any compilation error as we got here when we are using the integer variable. This is because this whole condition should either be true or false for the if condition. In this case, so what happened? I have a boolean variable flag which has false value, and I am assigning true to this flag. And this, what happens? This whole thing becomes a boolean value which is true, and every time this if block will be true. So you might be thinking that you are comparing this flag with true, but that is not correct. So again, how to compare this? You again need to use this double equals to symbol, which is meant for the comparison operator. So always remember, whenever you are comparing two values, you should be using the comparison operator double equals to, and whenever you wanted to assign some value to your variable, we will be using one equal symbol. So in this session, we have seen some of the common mistakes made by the Java program. That's all for this video. Thanks for watching.